This week's philosophy video, we will be talking about fallacies. As a definition, a fallacy is a mistaken belief based on an unsound argument, a failure in reasoning which renders an argument invalid. When people get into arguments, faulty reasoning, misleading, or unsound judgment occurs. There are three examples of fallacies that all have to do with appealing to something. The first one is appealing to authority. The second one is appealing to ignorance. And the third one is appealing to pity. Appealing to authority has to do with someone who admires somebody. They believe blind faith just because someone they admire said it. Appealing to ignorance, on the other hand, appeals to someone who just believes something because no one else can prove them otherwise, just like they believe in God. Well, no one can prove that God doesn't exist, so therefore he must exist. Appealing to pity focuses on consequences that might happen if you do not intervene. For example, adopting a puppy or else they will be put down. They feel responsible for what might befall them. Begging the question is another example of a fallacy and is found when the conclusion of the argument is based in the question itself. Begging the question is basically throwing the question back on someone. If they don't agree with you, you basically make them confused instead of convincing them of your own argument. False dilemma is another example of a fallacy and is a very intelligent way of misleading someone. It basically gives you two options when there are a lot more. Another distracting form of fallacy is called a red herring, who uses irrelevant information to distract you from the actual argument itself. Or you could go ahead and use an extreme fallacy called the slippery slope, meaning that a minor action will lead to an extreme outcome. Another fallacy is called the straw man fallacy, which basically circles around the argument that's actually initially being made and is arguing another point. Sweeping generalizations is a very ignorant form of a fallacy, which basically occurs when a very broad application is applied to a single premise. An example of this is everyone who gets married has only a 50% chance of actually making through the marriage. Therefore, no one should actually get married. One fallacy that I find is used most often is called an ad hominem, especially in politics. Where instead of attacking the belief or product that someone is selling, you're attacking the person themselves. Peer pressure fallacy is called a bandwagon fallacy, where basically because everyone else is doing it, therefore you should too. Finally, the ergo propter fallacy is a fallacy that believes that just because two things occur together, they must be related. Regardless of what fallacy you're using or you see people using, you are doing one thing in common that's wrong. You are confusing claims with issues. A claim. A claim is a statement that asserts something to be the case or not to be the case, whether this is the case or not. It is the basic element of arguments, and an argument is several claims put together. Some things we may confuse as claims are demands, questions, and exclamations. There is a term that refers to the process of getting people to assume or agree with the claim we are trying to get them to accept, and that is called inference. A single claim cannot be an argument, and a bunch of claims cannot be an argument. Bottom line, don't confuse a claim with an argument. Don't believe someone just because they said that one thing happens because of something else. Know when to recognize a claim and know when to recognize an actual argument. Tackle the issue itself and be able to provide evidence. Not allow your emotions to lead you to conclusions that you should not believe. Do not allow people to use scare tactics, and do not allow people to sway you one way or the other based on your emotion. As human beings, we have one ginormous vulnerability. We want to be accepted by all of our species, so much that we will accept or reject claims made by the vast majority. It's called popularity and groupthink. We want to fit in so bad that we will just accept the beliefs of the entire group. We should absolutely try our hardest to reject all sorts of fallacies. You've seen the harm that fallacies can do, and you know how to recognize it in others. In conclusion, you should try your hardest to reject all fallacies. Thank you.